Hi all, it's Kylie from Kylie's Cardcraft. Thanks for joining me again today. Today I want to show you how to quickly cover plain old, well not plain, but they're patterned notebooks. So just the little notebooks that you get from the cheap shops. These are such a quick and easy thing to do. They're great for gifts or if you're going to craft markets to sell. Very quick money earners. They use up a lot of your scraps. So if you're a card maker, a scrapbooker, or a junk journaler, any sort of paper crafter, you will find you've got little pieces of scraps. They are great for using those up. So it's not costing you a great deal of money to do, and you get a good return on them. If you're just starting out, it's so easy to get papers from op shops, Temu, here we go. Now, this is a Temu pack. Cost a whole $1.91. That's Australian. And in it, you'll get background papers and you'll get mid-sized papers right down to your little bits and pieces. These are a great pack. For $1.91, you can cover so many of these little notebooks, or notepads, I'll call them. Notebooks are the bigger ones. I'll show you a notebook that I've also done. Now, this is just a craft coloured chipboard notebook, blah. And that's been covered with printed tissue paper like this. Now this is the tissue paper that I get through from Which Craft Do You Do, which is an online store. Most of their orders are packed in it, but you can also purchase this tissue paper and it's beautiful. So I've done that front and back because a lot of the times with these you'll find that they have prices or barcodes or things like that. This one only had a price, but once you take it off, it still leaves a little bit of a mark. So I find with those ones I have to cover front and back. That's what I've done with this one. So we've just bits and pieces, bits of doily, old newspaper. This is my style. Doesn't mean that everybody has to do it that style, but what I want to show you is how easy they are to just do. So there's a larger one, there's a mid-size one. Again, I couldn't get the sticker off the back, so I've just used bits and pieces from paper pads, things I've got sitting on my desk. That one was a stamped image. Here's two of the little ones, and again, we've just used bits and pieces. Okay, these are so easy to do, so easy. I'm going to sit those ones just there and we'll pull out, I've got a couple of medium-sized ones and a couple of the little ones here. Thought these were easy and quick and easy instead of the big ones where I actually make covers for them. So again, with this sort of one, yes, it's pretty. You'll get them in all sorts of different colours. The other one I did was just a plain blue. These are just the ones that I've picked up. But again, we can't get that off. I can't get it off. And if I try, all it does is leaves marks on there. So we will need to cover both the front and back of that one. Now, as you saw with the other ones, they're my colour styles. I don't work in whites. I don't work in brights, whites and brights. That's just me. If you do, that's fine. You do you, as the great man says. I tend to work in just vintage colours, and so 99.99999% of my scraps and my papers are all in those browns, neutral tonings, vintage antique type colours. So when I get something like this, the first thing I will do with it is I'm just putting a little bit of ink on the edge. Now this is called a distress ink. I'm not actually distressing it, I'm just taking away the whiter tonings from the edge of this so that when I put on my brown toned papers, they will blend in more. But it's a me thing, okay? So see how I've just given that a little bit of an edge. Now these are slightly shiny. Once I've used distress ink, I will quite often, when I'm using a shiny product, just get a cloth and wipe it and make sure that none of that is coming off, that it's all dried and it's sitting there. It'll take a little bit off. It will take a little bit of it off, and that's fine because I just want that toning around it. Do you see the little bit of toning around it? So that's all we want. Right, so now we need a piece of paper or a background to go onto this, which we can then put all our focal points on. You always need a focal point. So I've got these sorts of things, which are just me to a T, but I'm not going to see a great deal of it. So something like that, which is an all over pattern, I can tear out of there, hopefully. There we go. And it'll need to be trimmed down, because at the moment, see how it's right top and bottom, but the sides are a little bit too wide for this one. Now, because this sheet has writing all the way to the edge, I can take off this side, which gets rid of that plain. So I know it's upside down at the moment, but I'm just working out how much I need to take off. I could take this further with a larger sheet, but I'm just going to use this sheet. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap before the holes here for where it's bound. Now, not everybody has a cinch or a binding machine, and that's where purchasing these cheap little notepads works a treat. If you've got a cinch, or I think Zutta is the other brand that does it. I don't know. There's a few binding machines out there. Cinch seems to be the main brand for all of them. Don't get me wrong. I've got a cinch and I do use it, and I do make other notepads with my cinch because I can make any size that I want. And I can get rid of a lot of my scrap plain papers for the interiors. Interiors, you know what I mean. So, but if you don't have a binding machine, you can still make really nice, sweet, pretty little notepads as either gifts for friends, great for Secret Santas and all those sorts of things for office parties, or if you're going to the markets to sell products so that we can keep buying more products, then I would suggest you go down this way. They are so quick, so easy, so value for money. Now, that's empty. Now with these ones, I use a combination of my glue stick and double-sided tape, because I'm concerned that my glue stick might lift. It usually doesn't, but they get a lot of handling when you're with a notepad. If they're chucked in somebody's handbag, they're always handled. They're sitting on the kitchen bench. In the old days, they would be sitting beside the phone, which means these days they're sitting in your handbag, because half the time that's where our phone is. So you want to make sure that they're not going to fall apart, as in all your little pretties are not going to come off. Now, I will pop my double-sided tape on there so that that's done and dusted, and then I will work out what it is that I want to pop on here. So that's just sitting there with the backing still on it, ready to go. I will sit this on here now, and now I will play with the bits that I want on the top. So I've got a selection of little die cuts that have been pre-dyed, or stamped images that I've cut out, fussy cutting from pictures, from magazines, from all sorts of books, or occasionally I'll use the digital printouts that you can purchase as well. So I do use digitals, but a lot of the time I will use my papers. Great if you've got scrapbook papers sitting around, and let's face it, most of us do have. Whether you're coffee time, whether you're a card maker or whatever. So these are little bits of doily. Now these are normal white doilies that you purchase wherever, 10 pack, 100 pack, 50 pack, whatever. And I will coffee or tea dye them. So that one actually fits down there beautifully. I can chop off that last bit. Actually, I reckon I can just tear that little bit off like so. That will fit down there like that. As I said, great for using up your scraps. So I will still put something bigger in amongst there. It depends on the colour that I want to go. And I'd like to have, I don't know, a focal point of some sort, be it a flower, be it a butterfly. Flowers and butterflies, things like that, seem to be the best sellers because they're multifunctional. They go to so many different people's reasonings of what it is that they want. Now I've also got some little die cut stickers here. They would work. They would actually work. I will tone that up though because, again, I don't like white. And it's just a me thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my blender brush again, my brushed corduroy, which is still on there, and very lightly just go over that, just to tone it into my colourings. So I'm just very lightly going over, taking the white edge out and making it look a little bit more vintage. I will get my cloth again and I will rub that, and it'll bring that slightly down. So now what I've got, and I think I've got two of these, so I can show you the difference. Now it might not be your cup of tea, that's fine. Doesn't have to be your cup of tea. So what I've now got is that. So it blends more in with my tonings. So here's another one of those. So that's what it was, that's what it is now. So all I've done is aged it. So that's a sticker. I know that it can be stuck on there with that one. I'm thinking I might want a few other layers. I like layers. It's just, again, it's a me thing. It's what I do. It's what I like. And that's where I like these sorts of packs if I haven't pulled out my scraps. Because these sorts of packs will give me so many different layers. And these are things that I can, once I've worked out my main parts, I can just start to tuck in and give me some ideas. So all we're doing, and I'll lift that doily before I kill it, it's just giving this some layers so that it's filling it out, but that is my focal point. Okay. What else have I got in these smaller ones? They don't have to be smaller ones. Just going to sit that one up there. As I said before, you're not going to see a great deal of that background paper because we're covering it up, but it's still slightly there. But the last thing we wanted was the backing that was already on the notepad. So I'm liking that, but this seems to be the same continuous line. So, hang on, we've gone over. Bring that there, bring that there. As you can see, I don't stick anything down yet because I want to be able to move them around. This one needs to come over just a little bit further, I think. The last thing I want, and again, that's a me thing, is this line to continue down here. So I need to have my layers just ins and outs. Now I'm happy with that. You could add some lace, you could add some cheesecloth, things like that, but you've got to watch with things like that that they don't get caught all the time. So again, they're just bits and pieces to watch out for. So now that we've got this, we can see where we need to start sticking things down. It's in a lovely little area. We pull it all off and we forget about where it was. So the thing I do is I'm going to pull each one out because I'm going to edge that one. And this time all I'm doing is giving it an edge just so that that edge stands out. And I don't need to do this end. So now it'll stand out just a little bit more. And I'm going to do the same with that one. Don't need to do the bottom bit. I'm just doing that bit. And that one's going to go down in there. That one was going to sit there. That one's going to sit there. Like so. This one I want an edge on it. So I need that side and I need that side. So you can see how much ink is left on that blender as we're going. That one's going to slide up into there, but he needs to go over so I don't have a straight line going down. I'm happy with that. I'm going to pull this all off the notepad so that I've got a flat surface to work with. My first thing I'm going to stick down is this one. So with this one I can just use my glue stick because he has so much more over top of him. Right. And I'm going that way. Just going to hold these ones in place and lift this up. So I'm still holding it up. I can still see where I'm going. And because it's a glue stick, it gives me time to move it. Right, that one's stuck down in place. Our next one needs to be this one. Again, we'll stick this one down. Again, I'll just use my glue stick. Again, I'm going to lift that. I'm going to lift that and that. Doesn't matter if they move a bit, you get the idea of whereabouts they needed to go. He needs to go a little bit further down. Alright. Keeping that straight. Like that. This one can go next. Alright, I'm starting to lose non-glued areas of my book. I'll need to rip that page out in a second. That's that one. I'm just going to pop my bit back in place. Lifting that up. I want that as a layer like so. So those ones can come off now because I can see exactly where I'm going. That's up there, that's down there. My doily is going to be the next thing that goes on, and I can see exactly where that needs to go. Now again, if you want to get rid of that sticky, if you want to give your doily a bit of an edge, it is really hard. If I do that, get some ink back on this one, it's really hard to go down and do that without tearing all these bits. I find the easiest way is on a clean sheet of paper or a glass mat if you've got a glass mat, and just bring this in just so that we're lifting up the corner that's coming towards you, and it's the back half that's going on there, and just go around in circles. And what you're doing very carefully is just inking that edge, and it gives you that edge without lifting all the doily up and ruining your nice little fine paper doily. And I'll go down there as well, just with those bits. Just watch what you're doing, don't go gung-ho at it. Right, so now what we've got when I sit this one back on is I've got a little bit of an edge going on with it, and you can see how it's defining itself around here. We're going to stick this one down. Again, I will use a combination of double-sided tape. So in here where there's no gaps, I will use a little bit of double-sided tape. So I can go from there. If you've got a thinner double-sided tape, by all means use that. I've got one over there, but this is the one that's in my hand. Right, that needs to be cut off about there. Right, the rest of that I will do with glue. Now I'm going to use my normal white liquid glue for this one. Just check that that one's working. It was working this morning, but I do have a tendency to leave my lids off while I'm working. I'll just poke a pin down till I can see it. That'll sit there until I can clean it. Come on. Here it is. Right, so when you're going along this now, just work your way around there. The more glue you've got on these, without it wanting to ooze out, the better it is for your doily and the longevity of it being pretty for longer with somebody handling it. Right. So just watch. It's hard to use the glue stick. The reason I'm using this glue is because the glue stick will catch all of these little holes. The more delicate your doily is, the more you've got to use this sort of glue, or a glue with a nozzle, a fine tip, something like that, instead of your glue stick, because all it'll do is rip up all those sections and you'll just end up with a big hole. We've all been there. Don't feel special. We have all been there. I am speaking from experience. Right. Going around those bits. Once I get the main part of it done, what I will do is undo the backing of my double-sided tape, and then we can do that centre section. So I'm just going in the crossed sections of those. Down there. And as I said before, the more we can do, the better it's going to be. Take off that double-sided tape edge. Again, being careful. If you've got a fingernail, it works better. There we go. Now I just want to make sure I've got this section done. A few of those. We don't want it to ooze out too much. Right. So we know that this is going to go all the way up to the top, and we're going to go right to the edge of that. There we go. Now if you find mine's a bit wonky down here, so what I will tend to do is use a little bit more ink, and it just darkens that section up so that you don't notice it as much. It's there, but it's not in your face there. So this one's now going to be adhered onto here. And then I will pop the last sticker on. So this one, I've now got my double-sided tape already on there. So I'm going to peel those off, and then I'm going to use my glue stick as my centre section. Right, and I'll grab my book back again. That's not got glue on it, will now. And I'm going to glue the entire section, including where my double-sided tape is. It'll still allow your double-sided tape to stick, but what it will allow is movement to start with, so that you can actually position this if you're a little bit wonky, or up the wrong way. So I know I'm going about there, and I want even top and bottom. Just about there, a little bit of gap down there, smooth that out. Again, I will grab my cloth and just give it a really good push. I would use a card or my scraper to push down if it didn't have the doily on it. Okay, right, that's not going anywhere. This one is back in here. Now these are stickers. So I'm just going to peel that top section off. I'll use my knife for that. Right. Now I know these are good stickers. They've got a lot of stick on them, so I don't need to worry about putting extra glue on them. If you've got stickers and they're a little bit old, put a little bit of glue or your glue stick back in there. I'm just using my tweezers just so that I can see exactly where I want to place it without my hands taking over. All right, how's that? Now, back is going to be exactly the same. It could be the same paper, it could be a different paper. It's up to you what you want on there. Let's use that one. And that's why we usually don't tear them out like that, Kylie. Now I need to make sure that I've covered that. That paper's not going to work for the back because this is so far down. So what I'm going to need is a different paper. So that's fine, we'll find a different paper. It's not as though I'm spoilt for choice with paper. I do have an old newspaper here that makes a lovely backing. This is newspaper from 1896. It will still all work in with that. So all we want to do is make sure that we don't have anything nasty in there. Always check that. See, that's not bad. Now move that. Let's go that way. This section here I quite like, and we will miss some of it. In use over 94 years. I quite like that section. So what I'm going to do for that is grab my big ruler and just tear that down so that it's a usable space, usable size. All right. And then back down here, about there. Now I've got a usable size for that one. Sit you back over there. And we can work out what we want on here. Quite like that mutual store sale. I'm going to lose a lot of it. But I do like those. They will flatten out. And I can do it up there. So I can use that one for another thing. So I'm just going to take that bit off. Let's have a look size-wise. I can go higher with this one. Just going to make a mark there, so that I can sit that on there. Pop that one on it. And so I'm just using my grid. Now you can trim these, you can cut them with a blade, you can cut them with your scissors, trimmer, whatever you've got. I tend to, with these newspapers, just tear them. Right, so I still get mutual store sale in. Those ones can be trimmed and we can adhere this one on. Now I've got to mark top and bottom. I've got to mark top and bottom. Where did I put that bottom one? That's there, that's there. It is that one. We'll just make that a little bit longer. It was sitting on an I, as in the letter I, so I couldn't see it. Just there. Again, it's up to you whether you want to go around your edge. I do, so that it matches the front. Got to get rid of that because it's got sticky on it. Now, when you're using vintage newspapers like this, you're going to go back to doing it the way I said with your doily, because you run the risk of tearing them. Now they're fine torn. You can either join them back together or whatever else, but just watch how you're working with them, especially like this one that I've got here, 1896. That's not yesterday. It's not even 100 years ago. It's quite a while older. So, right, so all I've done is defined my edge a little bit. That is a matte paper, so we're not going to wipe it. That's going to sit on there like that. Pull my book out again and we will glue that one. Again, I'm just using my glue stick with this. Again, because it is a vintage, very old paper, don't go like a bull at a gate. So I tend to, with these ones, just work my way down both ways. Need to get in that crease a little bit because I want to pull that crease out as I go. Right, so if I go down here, so I've gone upside down to do this because I'm a righty, and then I can work my way over and pull that crease out as I go. I like the crease, I like the look of the crease. I still get that look without actually having the crease there. Now I'm going to slowly move it over. Get my cloth and just carefully wipe it down, which will smooth that all over. There's that one. Okay, they are a quick and easy. So what if we want to do a little one? Doesn't matter which one. We're going to do exactly the same thing. You're going to look for a focal point, but you're going to go smaller now with all your elements that are going to go on the front. Now, as I said before, we could use lace. Just watch, make sure your lace is actually adhered nicely so it doesn't keep catching. All right, I'll just give that a quick. This one we don't have to worry about the back because these ones have this nice little white back anyway. I'm going to put some lids on some glues. I told you I don't never do them. And that one, because the sun's hit my windows. As it is, I've had to put a board up there so it was because it was shining through here. Right, so these ones work really well and I can use anything. Let's go back to that Temu one just for, oh, hang on a moment. I have these ones as well and I really like these little ones. They fit perfectly. Again, I could use whatever colour I want. Let's give this some colour. You can, wow, I wonder what it is that I usually work with. That one maybe. Let's give it some colour. See, now that works nicely because it'll allow me my centre, my focal point in the centre straight away. Let's do that and give ourselves some butterflies. Let's do butterflies this time. Just make sure I've got that. Just watch when you're pulling these out. Alright, set that one there. Now I don't need to trim that much off it. It's just trimming off the bottom. So I can sit that there, use my pencil, work out vaguely where I want to go with that, trim that off. And this time I'm just using my trimmer. Right. That works well. Give that an edge. Now these are a great thing to sit down and do a mass make on a yucky day. Today is not a yucky day here, but it's nice to be able to sit down and do a mass make with them. You'd be surprised how quickly you will get through a pile of them and how quickly you will clean your desk when you've just got your scraps sitting around. So again, I want some layering, and I'm going back into these because I can't be bothered pulling out all my other ones. It's up to you what you want to do. I've used him. I can just use some grids here. And I always just sit them down and play around with them. These are nice long ones. There's long ones in these. Or, I've got some scrappy bits here. These will actually, let's just, I don't need to trim that much off those ones, do I? Let's have a look at those. Instead of going through those ones again, let's look at something a little bit different. So I can trim that across there and then use that over here, and I can stamp notes or something like that on it. So that's not a problem. I can still have a butterfly in here, and we can utilise that one two ways. We can either use it that way so that we can still see her. Let's do that. Let's do that. So if I trim this directly across there, I'm going to use that one. This one, if I set that there as we're working on it, you can see what we're doing. I'm going to go up actually. I want some butterflies for there. Where's this one? Oh, actually, I've got some butterfly sheets. That was a stamp that I did before. Trim this bit off. That down there. And that was one that was just sitting on my desk, so let's see if this one might be too wide, but so I'm just trimming around the rest of this bit. Otherwise I might have to pull out a label. I like this one though. I like her eyes. I need still something in there as a focal point. I've got these layers, but I don't technically have a focal point. This could be something else, and I can put an actual butterfly on there. So let's look at the butterflies. Butterflies. These are my small butterflies. Let's have a look. I've got quite a few. Some of them are cut from digital kits. I want something else there. I want something else there. So let's just have a look. Oh, I know what I want. It's a matter of finding it. I could make it with a stamp. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Nope, don't like any of those. I just want maybe some writing would be nice. Maybe some writing. Let's have a look. We could go that. This little bit of writing would be nice in there. Going that way. Don't want, what have we got in postal? Numbers. Right, where was it? That one. Let's just have a look at that one. You can tell these are all very well loved. Extremely well loved. Pop that back in there. That would work as a long one, wouldn't it? And then I can still put my butterfly in here. Notes or something written down there. That will work. So we need something to stamp this onto. And just in front of me, I always have scrap paper that I use, that are my ends of my coffee or tea dyed. Might go that colour, and we'll stamp this one on here. We might go a deeper brown, so I want my stamping mat. I'm hoping I'm in shot. I keep getting closer and closer and closer to the edge, don't I? Alright, I need that, and I want, let's try acorn. That might work beautifully. So now whether I tear that or trim it straight, I'm still debating. And I have you there. I'm going to have you there. In there. I want this one to go all the way across. So starting down there. So let's have a look. Just tear that section off, pop that one back. Because this will be to the edge of that one anyway. Trim that down there. What am I looking for? That one and my small, just so it's got just a bit of an edge, like so. I want a little bit more off that top section. Like that. Just so it doesn't give too much of a gap before I've got my writing. And then the bottom. You can see I swap from trimmer to tearing to blade. Sorry, it's just me. Let me go over that. Right. That one back up there. This one's going to go in here like that. Up there, and it's going to finish around about there. But as I'll stick all these onto that afterwards, we can stick these ones down now. So I'm just going to define everything. I know that's going just under her eyes, so I can stick that one down. Back to this. So that's going just under her eyes and not quite to the end. That's that one. This one we will define. Again, just me. And that's going to go there. Like that, yep. Alright, so I can stick this one down. Right, so I can still see her eye. And then we've got this one. So at this stage, I'm not cutting the other end because I will cut that so that it matches in with that side, which means it's not going to ink that bit either. All right, that's going to go in there like that. We will just need a bit up there. Don't need to go all the way. That one's going to go just up there to that, keeping it straight. All right, and now I can cut that one off. and then I will re-ink that section like that. That whole thing can now go onto my notepad, so which is there. So again, I will use my double-sided tape and a glue stick. Okay. But you can see how much fun that'd be just to sit down with a pile of them. Look out in your op shops as well. You will quite often find notebooks sitting in op shops that haven't been used, just your plain ones. It's so easy to fancy them up. Fancy them up. That's a word, isn't it? Yeah, it is now. It's a my word. As my husband would say, it's a Kylieism. Right. Take off your backing of those, and then we will glue that one. On that one, just finding a spot that's not gluey or not too gluey. All right. Evening it up, okay. Give that a good push. And now we want our focal point. Now whether, I want to stamp that in there, don't I? So I want notes, and I had notes because I had it out the other day. Here. It's on a sample one. Here we go. Yes, and I've put it back even. So this is a Creative Expressions stamp designed by Sampool. Now again, purchase this through Which Craft Do You Do. You may find them, you probably find them elsewhere, wherever you are. I just know that I can get them through that. So there's, and it's got this wonderful little notes, which works a treat. So we will pop that on there, and that will fit on that top one just beautifully. So again, I'm going to use my acorn that I used on that one. Right. Just want to line that up so that we're, yes, I know it's not on the acrylic block straight. Beautiful. So that's that one. I need a butterfly to sit in there. Whether I want that, whether I want to add, he actually disappears a bit more in there, doesn't he? So, something like that's too large. The stickers. As you can see, I have a lot of butterflies. They're butterfly stamps. Nope, I don't like that. Oh, what about that one? That's not too bad. How does that look like to you? It gives that focal point, it gives it a bit of pop of colour, but the pink still correlates to this one. That's me, but it's not always about me, is it? Let's just bite the bullet and go that way. So what I'm going to do with this, because it's a die cut one, pre-cut out, I'm going to get rid of the white edge and just rub that round it. Again, this is just me because I can't work with white. Right. Then we'll stick that down. It's got a little notch in his wing there. Yep. I wouldn't raise him because it'll get caught on things. So we'll just keep him flat. Again, I'll use a little bit of double-sided tape and a little bit of glue. Sorry. I just realised my microphone cord was hanging down and I kept getting my hands in it. Right. Going this glue. Because it's nice and strong. It's just a white tacky glue. Alright. And I will use my tweezers again, just so I can place it, sitting that so that the note, if you're worried about where your notebook's sitting, flick it out that way so that you can sit this exactly straight. I don't want to cover up my notes. There we go. Which gives us our focal point again. And that one, as I said before, we don't need to cover the back. We can if you want. You can always cover both back and front, but you don't really need to with these sorts of ones. So, quick and easy. So much fun. Great way to clear your desk. Use your scraps. Or buy more scraps. Because let's face it, that's what we all like to do. Hope you've enjoyed those. Hope they give you some ideas. Thank you again for joining me. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye.